let's open things up. First thing we have is this set. And I want to randomize these. So I'm going to put them in this cloth bag. I think these are called Jeff bags. The guy who used to make them in Buffalo was named Jeff. Something like 16 stitches per inch or something was his. You know, this guy who just walked into the coffee shop a couple times a week trying to sell his goods. All right, so we'll grab the first one and take a look at what we got. And that's going to start at 80. And it's in the first position. And this is why we're randomizing, to see what's on top, because if another shows up at 80, it'll be below that one, which is of some importance. Next one is also at 80. These are the highest values. And I'll pull one more, and then this is down at 65. A lot less valuable, but these red areas are kind of not bad early in the game. There's a number of companies that start off right next to a red area, and being able to pull an extra 20 bucks from those areas is really impressive, especially here where it's 50 total, or here. So, you know, the fact that this is one that's probably going to make decent money right now. Now, one thing we got to keep in mind, it's more important to get the minors, and it's probably important not to get the presidency of one that's not going to be good later in the game. And out of the different car ones, this is, yeah, it's not bad, because something like this goes up to being worth 100, which is probably better than anything on the board. All right, I'm going to pull the rest of them off camera, and then we'll start the thinking. So these are our starting values. That's not going to affect many of the decisions until we get most, if not all, of the minors out. Now here's the thing. The person who picks the last minor, and I'm playing with 6 players, so the person who is going to pick the 12th one out of the set, they don't care, right? They can leave that because nobody can take it from them. Okay, one thing I didn't mention, this little thing, this is made by Lonnie Games. I've got a little cover on it. It didn't do too good a job of keeping things from shaking up in the mail, but it's really kind of a nice little storage tray. It's not big enough for all the pieces in this game, but you know, it is something. I don't know if it comes for free or if you buy these separately from them. All right, so the first player. So what do I think are the best? Well, one of the most interesting is Budapest. Getting that one train. It's not going to make great money to begin with, though. And that's kind of a negative for it. On the bright side, you're the one player. Your second pick, although you're going to get the last of the second picks, right? That means everything near Budapest might be gone. So I would aim, I'm going to aim not for that with the first player. Last time I took that as the first player. So now there are a few interesting options here. Let's spread these out so that I can see their capabilities. The most important, the only important thing, hold on, pieces of importance. One is the location, and that's the biggest thing. But the second important thing is this. That's the only way these companies differ. They don't have different number of dots or money or anything like that. So if I'm not going to take the 1, what is the next best? Well, you might think the 2 is. It's not bad. It's an It's near some stuff. It doesn't have any capability to blast. Now, that means it has to spend money to blast. I don't think it's as good as, say, the 9, which can hook this up right away. The 5, which gets lots and lots of blasting capability to hook all this up, but is kind of far from everything else. That doesn't seem like a great choice to me. The 6 is rather nice. Now, this is funny. In the last game I played, I think the 1 and the 6 were in the same player's hands. The 3 and 11 were in the same player's hands, which is potentially a powerful combination. Yeah, the runs didn't end up as good as I thought. But the 6 is in a nice situation where I can hook up immediately to here, but here's the problem with that. If I put my ooh going into here, I have to come out and connect to something else before I can make a run. So that's more of a long-term goal. This is, again, kind of a nice setup, as is the 11, in terms of being able to hit a valuable area right off the bat. If I was the second player, I might aim for this. The 4 isn't too bad. It's kind of centrally located. But here's the... well, I'm trying to think of, you know, what my situation is. So I think we have to set it up this way. Or this way, and they're basically the same thing. So setting up that, I would be able to get a 40 run right away, or a 50 run down here. That makes the 4 really valuable to the 1. You know, I think I'm going to go with the 1. With a little bit of extra money paid out, I think I'll be okay. And I'll put these here. Grab some cash for it. And give it its starting train. And that's all it has. I was kind of worried, the 50 bucks, I'm like, well, that's not enough for a train. How do you go? Yeah, you start with the train. So now the 2 player. Now the 2 has a nice situation. And I am going to go with that 3 up here. I'm not going to put all this stuff down as I collect it. I'll worry about it as I go on. The third player now is in kind of an interesting situation. You might say, this is close to Budapest. That means I'm going to have a lot of connection to it. And that's true, but the negative to all of that is that I've got to go through this to get to Budapest. And that means this dot isn't really that valuable. You might look at the 7 and say, wow, the 7 is really potent. Yeah, unless the 3 sets itself up to run right into Budapest, and now you're cut off, and you may never hook up. You'll probably be able to at some point or another, but here's the thing. If the 3 builds this, now you can't... Let's say, let me just show you. If the 3 lays this down, you can't build it this way. And so you're waiting till green on 2 levels. And that means that you're going to have to hook up through here, going through the 4. In the game I had, I think it may have been heading that way. They were in connection with the 13, which seemed like a good connection to me. The 13 ended up getting cut off with 2 dots against them. One of them, the 7, here, which was not optimal. They had another dot that they managed to get out before they failed to protect that. So, this is able to make better money, But this has that nice central location. Again, it's blocked off by dots, though, which is kind of weak. The 2 is not that bad. The 2 is almost assured to be able to get through to here. Unlike in 1830, you've got these junctures, and they eventually, well, there's only one gray, but they eventually get to a point where you're almost certain to be able to hook this up, and doinks aren't that big a problem because of this. So I'm going to go with the 2. I didn't like it on my first attempt through it, but then started to see some power for it. The 4th player, well, all the low number ones have gone, which leads me to think maybe the 4 is the next best one. Get this out of here. It's confusing me. On the other hand, the 9 is interesting. The 12 is very powerful in early money. That's kind of appealing. I'm going to pick between, it looks like it's far out, and it could be, but it also does have a route right up that it probably will be able to hook up. It's not as guaranteed as the 2. I'm going to roll odds 4, even 12. I make a lot of choices early on in games by rolling some dice. The 5th person. Now, you might think the 5-12 is a good combination. It looks like it. It's a couple of companies that are able to make a lot of money. The 5 becomes really questionable if someone else is looking, just like the 13 becomes questionable, you know. But yeah, it's just I don't know, you know. You might be better off getting the 10 or something like that with the 12 and let the 5 be the one that rots on the vine. It's got a nice little run going up here, but it's hard to get out of. Of course, that could change some of the values. So the sick is really valuable if the 5 is in the game, because it's going to blast through a lot of mountain spaces using its 3 tokens. Big mountain spaces, so a lot of money gets generated early. The 4 is appealing. I think I'll go with the 4. Now, here we're on the 6th player, and he gets the last choice this time around, and then the second to last choice next time around, which might not be that great a choice, and maybe he'll just take an early certificate instead. You want something that's going to make good money. You want something that has a connection. You know, the 6 is like the 4. It's got blockage, but it's got a pretty direct route down. I'm going to pick the 6th up. It's not great early money. And now this moves down. Now the player with the 3, well, I just think that there's huge synergy between these two. The 3 and the 7, there's not. Even though they're close together. The 3 could go up this way, the 7 could go this way. And that could be kind of powerful. This is a really nice space, though, and having control. But here's the problem with the space. And maybe I don't want the 11. So this is the most valuable of the red spaces. But this space is limited to green. Because it's not a K space. In fact, it doesn't even fit the K connection. And you can't put only one area out because it's got 2 areas it can't go to. Because that blue line prevents you from running track in that direction. So, I don't know. Maybe we'll try the 3-7 connection. Because the 3 can go up here just as easily. Of course, that relies on someone building this for me to get... So I can make a run on the first turn of the game because all these companies have a 2 train. I'll take the 11. think it's better. Okay, now we're on the 2. The 6 is already gone. There's not a lot available for the 2 to work with. The 5, this is actually the connection I had, was the 2 and the 5, and the 5 had a really hard time. But there's not much that works well with the 2. I thought the 5 would be nice because it would allow the 2 to get in here. It ended up everybody could get in there. I'm going to go with the 10 instead this time. The 12, well, with the 10 gone, I'll go with that 12-5 combination. That's a lot of early money and is interesting. Okay. I can't say no to this. And now we're on the 6. And the 6 has a choice between the 8, 9, and 13. Well, do I want the 9, or do I want to just say, hey, I'll go with the 13 and say, screw it, I'll take this and decide I'm never going to really connect up unless I somehow get, control in one of these. Well, the 9's not a bad rail. I think it's worth grabbing. Another option is I could just say pass, but I'm pretty sure the 1 would take the 9. So if I want the 9, I want to hold off for that. Otherwise, I'd be left the 9. In which case, no problem. Well, that puts me to the last player. He has no reason to pick either of these. No one else can take them, which is what I was saying. SIV strikes, or the SIK strikes me as a particularly interesting one, as does the SZKEV. It looks to me like there's a lot of mountain blasting. It's hard to tell which one's better because the mountain blasting could generate more early money. I'm going to take an SIK. That probably means I don't get any more of either of those. Now we've gone all the way around and priority moves back down. And at this point, it's time to start thinking, and there's some danger of groupthink, and it's especially difficult when there's only one of me, because I am a group, so like this guy is thinking, well, I want to have the SIK, but I've got the 2 and the 10, and I think I'm going to go for this because I have some control over which one gets selected. I don't have any control over who's going to buy mountain stuff. I got to swap out. I'll come back after making some more selections. We've gone completely around once more. This is the last time around. Priority moves over here. Let me just clear up. SIK went here. SKEV. RABA. Why the RABA? Because the 9 is going to hook this up, make some money. If they weren't going to do that, if they were going to build... So, I don't know. Maybe they don't want to do that. See, this is their best money, but it's not that good. You know what? I'm going to back up on that. He's not going to take. He's not going to take a RABA. He's going to take a mining one. Let's come back here. Does he want a RABA? He's got the 1. He's going to take the 13. So yeah, he'll stick with that. And then this guy's taking a mining. Now there are less options by a lot. And some of them aren't very good. One of them is useless. Nobody's going to be up there then. You notice that I didn't put a lot of thought into the price that they're at. And that is actually of some importance. But I think it's more important how much money they're going to generate. Because the money they generate, they're going to pump out. And that's going to boost their price. And things that aren't going to boost their price. And, I'll just end up exchanging them and selling them at lower values and whatnot. And you got to rely on where the priority is going to end up for that to work. So this guy has a good choice anyway. The SIK, so he probably should have taken an SIK simply because the valuation is higher. But now we've got high valuation on this. Nobody's going to be buying a 2-train the first time around. It's just not going to be the money. None of the runs make $60. I don't know. Maybe they do. Looking at like 35. Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be running for 60 right off the bat. And that's somewhat important. See, the 5's going to be hard. I say it's going to make a lot of money early. It could just hook this up. But you see, the problem is, whatever I hook up, we got to get to the green. Oh no, these aren't ooh-oohs, so that's okay. That's okay. It's the ooh-oohs that they make better money, but on their own, but they don't hook up well. So this actually is going to go with gray. Yeah, that's fine. We haven't seen anybody buy any of these because they probably aren't going to be hit very often. Certainly not in the first round. Price is kind of low. The Raba is still out there. And then the next best choice is this for pure value. And there's a significant difference between the two, which means, well, this is going to be 75. The Raba is looking like it might be 70 or 75. Plus a little bit of income, but the income is almost inconsequential. So I'm going to go for one of these. And I think he's in the same position, where this is just the better of the choices. That puts it over here. This thing is very unlikely to make any money right away. And it's almost as valueless as the Raba, so I'll grab that. Puts it, the last couple of people basically have the choices of the MAG or the GNC. The MAG is definitely going to go down in value. The GNC, pretty much the same. Nobody's, you get to lay 2 tracks. It's possible something like the 7 could move to here, the 9 moves to here, hooks those up, and now the 9 has a 2-run with these 2 doinks and wants to pay into there, though. It's possible. Is the 7-9 combination in one player's hands? No. The 7-4 is in one player's hands. The 9 is over there with the 6. And it could hook right into here. It's going to be ugly. This is all ooh-oohs here, which means it's horrible, horrible track. Like, maybe the best way up is up into here, or up this way. And this is probably the best. Okay. So, who are we on? He's at 4. He's at 3. It's his turn to choose what he's going to take. I was going to take the Raba. Getting this dot to control this is maybe of some, or the DV, is maybe of some value. The danger is that I could get cut off there. That would be terrible. That means the 8 is not going to be in this game. And I will take its discs out when I have enough fingers. And so that's going to put it on the 3 and the 11. He's not planning on going through any doinks and doesn't see anyone who looks likely to. The doinks are a pain, so if I'm down here, I don't want to pay to use the GC and avoid the doinks, you know. But sometimes you fall into it, and it's not obvious whether or not that's going to happen. So I think I'm going to go for the slightly more valuable Mavag. And now the 210 is in a similar position. I don't think that I'm going to go through the doinks. Although the 2 could hit here, get a run right away, and then be set up boink boink to get into there, depending on how the 1 positions itself. If you had the 1 and the 2 together, you could pretty much guarantee yourself this link up where the G and C becomes very valuable. I don't see any reason for that to be the assumed case, though. So I'll buy the Mavag, or take the Mavag. The G and C's go back here. Priority stays here. It does not move. Which, you know, really, these last 2 players have kind of not great choices. Could it have been done serpentine? Yeah, maybe. I don't know if that's that good, though. That means the 6th player, I mean, the most important thing is the 2 picks for minors. That means the 6th player gets to pick 2 minors right away. I think that feels better, but it's not what the rules say, so I'm playing it this way. That means we jump right into the operating round. Nobody has any money or anything. I've got some tokens to lay down and whatnot. I realized I left one thing unexplained in my rules explanation. These little cheat-sheets up here. If you go through an operating round without anybody buying a train, with the state being unchanged, one of these gets put on one of the track, one of the little operating round indicators. If all 3 of them end up on one, the phase goes up by 1. I think it's the next train in sequence, the lowest number train that gets selected. But whatever, it just, you know, it goes from yellow to green, green to brown, brown to gray, no matter what. As though that next train had been bought. Does that serve a lot of purpose? It is possible that people might delay the game a great deal. Unlikely, but possible. Usually I think it's in somebody's advantage to get the additional trains, but it's just to prevent it from being in a completely pathological situation where the game never moves forward. The end is triggered by the 3rd of those train, the 3rd train type purchase. I could see situations that arise where somebody doesn't want to push the last train out or whatever. Well, where a number of people don't. It's also, because you have to discard a train, you have to give up some income to push the trains forward. So it might be in everybody's interest just to let things roll rather than take that hit. It is still possible to stretch this game out for quite a long time because you could just, you know, buy a train that doesn't hurt you. But remember, you have to discard, you can only have 2 trains on your company. You have to discard before you make your run. So you don't want to take that hit and not buy a better train, you know, just to delay the game. But it is possible the early parts might move very slowly or whatever. We'll see how it plays out. Oh, I'm having physical problems. The stress of my job search, it's really hitting me. Don't remember being this stressed last time. You know, last time I kind of just resigned myself to, well, I don't know if I'm going to get a job. Now, when I could really do that, I don't know. My whole body is rebelling against it. All right, so the 1 company goes first. Now, I only have a 2 train, which means this are the only things I want to hook up. Huh. Could I have gotten the 1-4? I think he bought the 4 before he bought the 7, so I wouldn't have gotten that option because this actually hooks up nicely. Ugh. Well, I might as well lay this track. And now the question is, do I want the most money I can make? Do I want to screw things primarily for the 4? I'm kind of tempted to. Kind of tempted to do this. Not that. So this one's got the same on both sides. But this one has the sharp bends on it. Kind of tempted to do this. Try to slip down to the 13. In order to do that, I gotta get me a bunch of 5s. So now, there's my 25 bucks. I have to pay 10 to the yellow company. Nobody has 2 of anyone. No. To get the second track lay. And I think that's all. The next piece costs 20 bucks. And I can run my train immediately for 50 bucks or 50 and 50. I'll take that cash. Not 50 and 50, 25 and 25. Which is not a great run. And do I want to buy a train? I don't have enough money. I have 50, 65, so I can't immediately improve my situation. In most XX games, the companies have enough money and track options that some of them at least can buy 2 trains. Now, some of them will be able to, can buy their second train later as they go, depending on how the track's configured. So now let's go to the second company. Now, with these, I removed the 8s. I tend to put them in here and then not leave them there as they're usually intended. The main reason is so that I can remember where the fuck I am, which company has moved, because I may need to take breaks, especially if my stomach's unhappy. Okay, so the 2 is down here. He's working with the 10. That's coming down here. My intention was to try to slice through here. So, I think that's still appropriate. I find myself an ooh-ooh. I lay it here. That didn't cost me anything. Now, I could do this, and that gets me more money, and, you know, I think it's worth it. And then, I could run something big down there, but I don't see the point to that. And then I spend my 10 bucks to get a second track lay again. See, this is a good company. I put my free token here. And I can run also for 50. Or 25 and 25, which, just like the other guy, isn't going to give me anything interesting. Puts me on number 3. Number 3 is working with 11. This is not optimal. But, you know, 1 did something dicky. 7 is another player. 1's going to learn their fucking lesson. I'll take a wide curve here. Last time, is this what happened? Maybe I like this better, because that gets me up into here more easily, I think. Okay, this is free to build on. Now I have to spend again. $10 for another track lay, and then $20. Oh, need another one, because I don't have any terrain markers, into the SIK, so that I can lay this, which I want. And now I too am running for that big 50. Everybody looks the same, don't they? Well, it changes. I am going to just fix that so that I have better money in place. Now we go to the 4. Who owns the 4? The 4 and the 7 are working together. Well, this is interesting. If the 4 and the 9 were working together, that would be appealing. I don't know whether or not he's going to go that way. I could talk to him, but I don't have to believe him. I think the 7's saying, hey, what the hell? And the 4 says they're going to try to eke up that way, but in order to do that, I need to hook these two up. Okay, so same path. The ooh in here, so I can't upgrade. Do I care about the doinks? See, the doinks are a constant cost, but I can hit 2 of them going that way. That's not that bad. So I too will pay my $10 for additional track. My run is again the same 50 that everybody is making. This is turning out very different from the last time. The last time, I think by this point people were already making more money. I think 1 shot down here and 4 hooked it up, and that ended up good for 1 in the long run. Maybe definitely better than what this is going to be. That's not going to be pleasant. The 7's going to actually do rather well. That puts me on the 5. Where's the 5 hiding? It's over here. The 5 is way is way down here. Okay. What the 5 needs to do is make a run, which I'm going to spend $10 over here to the sick. To build this piece of track. And that's the 5. Now I could spend, I forgot all my tokens. That's not good. Alright, the 8 doesn't get any, I guess. Wow, that's harsh. I would have given him 1. He's in a shitty position, but maybe better than 13, who knows. 13 has only 1, so yeah, just for this, I guess. I don't know. Oh, I don't know. So what are we on? We're on the 5. I could just run this for 20, 40, 60, Or 60, 80, 60, 85, 30, 55, 60, 70. I'm not going to have enough for a train. I might as well build some more track out. I think that's a good idea. So I spend my 10 on him to get my second track lay. And again, this one produces a lot early comparatively. I spend one of these for this track. That doesn't come out of my cash, but it does go into the SIK. So it makes a lot of money. And now I get me a wide curve to slap there. And that way I don't have to deal with all these doinks. The doinks are an option, but they cost more to make the run. Okay, now I get to make my run, and I am going to pay 10 bucks for a one-time use of the Raba, which brings this to 40, 50, 60. And we get 30 and 30 because of that. Just like this. Not enough money for a choo-choo. We find the 6. How's my battery? The 6 is up here. All right. The 6 has a doink, has one of these, but I don't think it's a good idea to buy it. What I think is a good idea is to lay this. That cost me 10 bucks. To the 6. Doing this one-handed is kind of hard. There's a lot of money transferring around. I need to have a run. I can't just run here. So I spend 10 bucks to the Skevy. That lets me lay another piece of track. Take another straight city. Right? Working with a 9. Not anywhere near yet. Now I need another 10 bucks that I'll pay into the snow. And now I can run this into here. So that's 20, 40, 70. And that'll be 35 and 35. Still not enough for a train, obviously. The only way I'm going to get money for a train is if somebody builds stuff for my company, whatever company that is. Like, hey, this is intriguing. Here comes the 7. All right, 7 is really, really interested in what the world turned out as. This was a horrible play by the 1. I think that's going to screw them up pretty badly. So the 7 is going to run nicely. I grab an oo. Unlike in 1830, there are enough oo-oos for everybody to start. It's possible in 1830 that companies get really screwed by them. There's enough of the yellows that everybody can get started. So I lay that. Now I need some money. I have a green token. Is this when I want to play it? The 7's working with the 4. I might want to do it here. I might want this. But, okay, I spent my 10 bucks for my additional track lay. Oh, shit. Yeah, okay. No, I didn't spend. I spend my 10 bucks for an additional track lay off this is together. This is. Now I have 40. If I pay this, $20 goes here into the sick. And I build a straight track going up here. Now, being able to move through here is of some value. I can't run 2 trains. I don't have enough money. This is the players. Don't get confused. But 3 could have done this. Well, maybe not. They didn't have the money up front. Right? Maybe, maybe not. I'm playing my token here. 3 should have done that. I'm doing it. That creates $20 here on the skiv. All right. And now my run, unfortunately, I'm not getting multiple places. So my run is 30-60. Isn't bad, but... And I get 30 and 30. No stocks changing, nothing. The 8's out of the game. I don't have to worry about that. I thought about using it for something, but I don't think it's very helpful. That puts it on the 9, which is up here. The 9 is working with the 6. The 9's got an ooh-ooh, and all paths are kind of closed. The only run that I'm going to get, well, I could start running up this way. I could start building track to the 10, but the 10 goes after me, and that's the problem. I need to hook up so that I can make a run and not lose money on this first round. Oh. I could get stuck with this if I build this, I could get stuck for a long time because this is a red, it's terminal. But this is not pleasant. I don't have any dots. Yeah, it sucks that nobody built towards me. And that's probably my own fault. I think I do this. I don't like the 9. Is that his first pick? I don't think so. So I build this. I get my 10, 25. I spent 10 on the Raba so that I'm at 60 as well. Which isn't too bad, I guess. But now I don't build track, which is what sucks. Like, I'm stuck here. And that's a free track lay every turn. I could have made 40 by hooking this up, but then I got expensive track here, or who knows what, and we'll see how things develop, but this is not pleasant for him. The 10. There's a reason he's the last player, though. The 10. Maybe I would have been better off with these two. I don't know. They're so far apart. The 10's down here. This ain't too hot either. The 10's working with the 2. The 4 is going to get this before I do. I could play to here and here, which might be okay. This doesn't let me run. This is the best run I've got. Do we want to just take the best run we've got? 10 has no terrain tokens, so I might want to hook to here and be able to go from here to here to here. I think that's actually better. So I'm going to lay my track like this. This worked really well in the last game, at least for early money. I buy an extra track build. Which I lay immediately, so that I have this. I pay $10 from the right company into the RABA, so that I get 30, 40, 50. What everybody else gets. What all the cheap companies get. Because nobody's synergy is working out in this game. Everybody's dicking each other over. Great. All right. We'll see. Maybe somebody will. Maybe the 11 will. They worked with the 3. Doesn't look like it, though, because they don't have enough trains. I mean, that's the whole thing. You can only connect 2 things. The only place you're going to get good stuff is off the grays, the reds, and doinkers that get hooked up. So nobody's going to get anything too exciting. The 11. Well, the 11 has very little choice here. It's basically this. I can hook up to the 3 or not. I don't think it's worth the 10 extra bucks at this moment to do so. It doesn't get me any real bonus. So I take my 10 bucks to put into the RABA. Yeah, let's get some of this over there. And so this actually makes decent money right away. 50, 60, 70. So that's the 35, 35. Somebody else got that, and it had better be, who else? The 6? Yeah. Okay. That gives me 75 bucks. I'm $5 short of being able to immediately buy a train, which, you know, I could then run a pair of deuces and be making a little bit more money than everyone else. But no such luck. On to the 12. Uh-oh. Let me swap batteries. This one's probably close to dead. So the 12, and I should have handed out bunches of 5s to begin with. The 12 has to lay track here. I don't want to waste one of my double doinkers on that. So I'll pay that into the SIC. And I want straight track here. This is not a K. There's no yellow Ks, but this helps remind me that this is a K. I get my token. Well, I want to run my train. I spend a doink for this, putting 20 bucks more into the SIC. And throw this. So that I can make it down to here. And now my special is into the RABA. And I run for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, which is 30 and 30. And we've got some money problems. I need to get some change. this. Nice. All right. That's the 12, not enough money to buy a train. And last company is the 13. They sure as hell aren't going to. 13 has to be able to bust its way out. That's something, well, that's something that I know. However, do I need to do it now? I don't know. Okay, so again, the real question is, you know, do I want to use this for a 1 to get my way out? Where else is the 13 going to have to break through? Well, it might have to break through here. It's working with the 1. I might be able to do something good. I think... I want the wide curve. I'm always confused when the short curve is there. I think it's worth saving money in the long run, but I might end up just not using it. Do I want to buy the extra track? You know, I can't use the extra track yet. So I'm going to just put 10 bucks into the RABA and run for 40, 50, 60, which is 30 and 30. Now, see, here's the thing. I have very little agency with my companies. I could buy a second train off a company. That might actually have been an interesting idea. Like the 9 doesn't have much, and it doesn't have much opportunity, but I might have been able to buy a second train off a company and let a company just sit there fallow. You don't have to buy a train ever. In fact, you might get yourself in a situation where you screwed up totally. You have no money on the company, no train, and you're done. How could you do that? Yeah, you could do it. And then that company is just worthless for the rest of the game because you need to have at least 1 florin to buy. But leaving that aside. So we finished all the miners, but we have no agency in terms of, like, you know, being able to try to do anything too different. We have a little bit of play we can make in terms of, hey, how much income do I want to put in my pocket versus here? How early do I want to spend the money? But a lot of it is very, very fixed at this early point in the game. Of course, the track lays are not. So now we go to the corporations, and nobody controls any of these. I slide these all down so that I can keep track of what I'm doing in the correct order. The LDEG, that does not have any cash, so it slides back 1. Paid no dividends. People who have any of that? Yeah, there's a couple of people who have a share of that because it was clear that this was going to go back, and at least it's worth something. I can cash it in on the next stock round. I couldn't sell it on the first stock round. But of course, that depends on where priority is. Like this guy can sell it. This guy, he's going to be back another 5 bucks. Plus, it might be worth something in the upcoming turn. Trains are about ready to fall. The SIK. Nobody owns the presidency. So 120 bucks is paid out. All of it. 12 a share. That goes up 3 spaces. And you can see, you know, the way this is set up, it's fairly painful, you know, or there's a lot of stock value generated off of not that exciting dividends. So 12 a share. Now, only 2 people should have this. There's 1. There's the other. But those shares that they got originally are worth a lot more. But here's the thing. These certificates, your paper in the game is just not, at least early on, it's not something that you make a lot of money off of. You know, I just made 12 But here's the biggie, another 15, 27 bucks off that certificate. Minus another 5, call it 32 bucks in comparison with what somebody else made off of the Lidsitke. The MAGA, obviously, or Mavag, kept calling it MAGA in my head all game last time. Goes back one. The snow. Well, somebody bought a little bit of snow. It's worth 10 bucks paying out. That means it pays $1 a share and doesn't change its value. I have to find the people who have it. There's one. There's another. You know, again, I made $1 off that, but at least I didn't lose money, right? The GNC, that did not pay out. And there's a reason nobody took that one. It's hard to use in the first turn. It might happen. Okay, the RABA is another that's doing okay. And again, nobody owns a presidency, so nobody gets to choose. These just pay out completely. So that's 6 a share. 6 a share is a nice layer. So I go up 2. And again, only 2 people own each one on this first turn. That can change. And then the final one is a shame. It's $100, which isn't bad, but that only moves up 2 instead of 3 and pays out 10 a share to the owners of the yellow. The thing is, you don't necessarily want to hold on to these. In terms of income manipulation, they make very little sense. There's no loyalty for that. But there is loyalty for who ends up with presidencies eventually. But probably more important at this point in the game, who gets to control placing some of those tokens, because those can be really important even early on. They can add to your runs. They can help block people. So now we've gone completely through an operating round. I generally put the die on top of something when I'm going to do something. But let's take a look at the stock round and finish that up as well. And then I'll break for the night because whatever. I got to get up early. 50, 60, 70 bucks. 70 bucks could buy me something. I also have this, which is iffy, but I think worth something. 70 bucks could buy me a snow or a GNC. Now, this is heading for doinks, but nothing else definitely is. So I'm going to spend my 70 bucks on a share of the SNW and put that here. Another option would have been sell this and maybe buy an extra SIK. 5 and 12. I'm planning on placing a dot. Although this makes a lot of money and this makes almost as much. I mean, that's going to be cranking still. I just don't have the cash for it, and the only way I would is by selling this. This might make a lot of money this turn. So I'm going to hold on to what I got. Another option might have been to sell the SIK at 95 and try to turn and see, could I buy 2 more valuable things? Might have been able to buy 2 SZ Kevs. I don't know. Not thinking that clearly. 65 here. I'm not going to get another purchase. Well, might be a lot of mountains going. This guy should be thinking that. There might be a lot of mountains going. So if I've got 50, 65, and 75, I'll have enough to buy an SIK. I'm going to dump this, I don't know. People have money. I'm going to pass and grab priority. I don't know. Over here, 50, 60, 72. RABA? 2, 3, 4, 5 companies are hitting RABA. That's pretty good. Why did I buy Snow? Oh, because RABA is more valuable. 50. So again at the $70 level. Do I want the presidency of the SNW? Right now I'm the only person hitting it, but I see more coming in. I think it's going to be good for the game. Note that the money doesn't go into the big company. So I buy a presidency. That means next operating round, I get to decide what happens with the money, unless somebody buys it out from under me. $70 here. Well, again, the only cheap thing available is the Snow. I could fiddle around and screw with other stock values. You know, sell off things that are worth more, but I'll just buy. Only 60. And I have a stupid MAGAV. Well, clearly MAGAV is still not going to go. At least I'm the first person who was dumped with it, so that's 70 more bucks. That leaves me 130. 130 could let me buy 2 of those Doinker ones. That doesn't seem too valuable. Prices do go up by more later on, but we're not at that point now. Everything's still 5. Where do I see the biggest money, you know? How many people are going to buy that second train? So there's a lot of people with like $65. Drop them to about 50. They're going to still make a decent amount of money. I'm going to buy one of these. I think that's going to be a really good purchase overall. He does not want a MAGAV either. So that's 65. And 125. Hey, there's nothing I can buy at that level. Do I want to just follow in his footsteps, or do I look at one of these others and say, yeah, you know, they're good for a while? At only 75, I think this is a steal. Come back around. He's got no money. He's got everything that he could hold. He could turn these 2 maybe into 3 if I was careful. 165. Doesn't sound like it. So I'm going to pass. 65. This is interesting. I got enough money for a GNC. Do I think it's going to make money? I don't know. If it does, it's probably a couple bucks a share. I'm going to pass to hold priority, I think. Over here, he made his bed. 55, not enough to make anything. 50, not enough to make anything. We drop down to the first operating round. All right. I got a lot of things loading right now, so I've loaded 3 videos today. So I'm going to hold off on this and play at least another turn before I load up. But I have to try to sleep or something. My schedule has gotten so screwy because I've been off for a month, and now you know, every now and then I do an interview or whatever, and that just adds to the stress. I should just say fuck it. I'm going to leave these here for now, but they all will shift over just so that I can keep track of which companies I'm running and the order they're running in. Right, low sleep, a couple of interviews. I figure I'll push out at least another set of operating rounds. Now, we're probably not going to get to the green anytime soon. Again, this game has sort of a slow progression because the companies have to build their way up to that second train, just like they do in 1835 or whatever for the miners, whereas the major corporations in that game, you know, are fully capitalized or whatever. But there's nothing like the majors to buy trains, you know. All you have is these little things making their 50-50. Like I said, and I'll push these all back over. Because the amount that it made before has very little to do with what it's going to make again, and nobody's interested in investing or whatever, so tracking this doesn't really do me a lot of good. But it does help me tell, hey, did you do something or not? So don't have to pay out privates or anything, so we go right to the miner. And the one. Well, can't do anything about this. I have a couple of track lays I could apply. How much money am I going to make? $50 really. It could go up to 60 if I'm trying to get more in my pocket. I'd be paying $5 out of here. That's probably not terribly wise though. What does that mean? Well, I could also hook it up right through here. What's my other company? My other company is the 13 way back here. I don't see particularly helping the 6. So I'll go this way. Being a dick still. And we're able to run for 50. That's a nice amount. That's 25 and 25. I could, however, throw a little bit of extra cash into my own pocket. Nobody's got any GCs, so this doesn't really help anyone or hurt anyone. If I had bought some, I would probably take advantage of it. But now I can run 1, 2, and this. So now I'm at 60, which is 30 and 30. And basically what I did was transferred $5 from my company to myself. But that's fine, because I have $80 here that I put in to buy a second 2 train. And I'll be able to run those up this way and this way. Which, you know, maybe I want to hold out for the 3, but I can make money so much faster with 2 trains. And it's just making money. I'm not worried. What did I say that was? 50, 60. I'm not worried about how quickly I'm burning through trains. That's not a concern in this game. In fact, the more you buy 2 trains and whatnot, the more you're slowing down the chances of trains coming out. Over here to the 2, he's working with the 10. Well, not very hard. This is not terribly pleasant. I could go in here, try to grab that dot, and that would let me run 2 trains. Or I could shoot up this way, and maybe getting this dot would get me hooked in, although that's more iffy. I'm going to go for the dick gear move to here, but now there's a danger. if I don't get that, see, if I don't hook this up, I think I need to play 2 tracks no matter what, because I either want to hook this up or I want to hook this up. And if I don't grab this space, the 6 can come in. I'm not going to have the 40 bucks for everything. So I'm going to put 10 in here for an extra track lay. And grab another pile of chips. 10 in here to lay that across the river. How do I want to build it? I don't want to hook up. I don't want to hook up because although that'll let me build track that I might want, this slows people down from being able to reach this space, which is going to be an important entry space. Now I could buy that dot right away. If I did buy that dot, I would want to hook up upward. So let me think about what I'm going to be getting. I'm going to be making a 50 run, which means I get 25, 50, 60, 70. You know what? I'm going to go this way. And I'm going to spend 40 bucks for a dot. And that puts 20 in here. That's what buys the tokens. I'm going to grab this token. Now, that token means that I could run 2 trains, but that's not going to happen anytime until the greens come out. And now I run for that 3 and 2 is 50 and 50, 25 for each of us. Getting myself some money. I don't think I'll be playing in this much detail later on. Now let's take a look at the 3. So pretty much whatever I do, I'm not going to be able to lay track with both companies. I want to get this hooked up as soon as possible, I guess, because then I can run 2 trains. So we'll just slap that in there. There's nothing exciting I can do. So the 3 train will simply run for 50 and for 50 bucks. That's 25 and 25. That's 50, 60, 70. Not enough to buy me another train yet. Gets me to the 4, which is over here playing with the 7. Wow. How'd I do that? Okay. So the 4 has some ugly situations. Like if this is going nowhere basically, and if I shift down and head this way, a 2 train isn't going to get me as far as that. So I think I'm going to piddle around a little bit here. I'll lay this. It's not necessarily the best track. Everybody's kind of waiting for those 3s to come out, but they're not easy to bring out. I don't think it's worth paying to go here at this point. I don't get anything out of it. So this also will run at that 50 level. But that gives me 80 bucks. I can buy a train. 40 of it goes in here, and I get another deuce. Next turn, I don't know if I want to put a dot there. Do I really want the deuce? Or do I want to save up? You know, I think I need the extra train. What I don't like about that is that's going to force me to play my dot out here, which is not the optimal place for it. But I'm getting cut off everywhere. If I don't buy the train, I'm at 75. It would take me 2 more turns to get to the 3 train at 120. During which I'll be making very little money. Yeah, I'm gonna keep the 2 trains, I guess. I'm really not sure about that, whether I want to do that. But okay. But I have a share of this, so you know. Okay, that gets me to the 5 train. 5 is over here. Now, one of the problems with this game, most games that have minors, they have 1 or 2 tokens on the board, and they're not there for the whole game. This game, you have all these little black and white tokens everywhere. A color scheme or something might have helped a little bit. It becomes this mass that's hard to discern. Right now it's fine, but soon it's going to be kind of ugly. Okay, so we've got the 5 and the 12. Now, last game I had the 5 run up to here. That cost them a pile of money to... They have 2 more tokens to blast through these, but that cost them a pile of money to get up here. This is a good location, but what it meant was the 5 was cut off from the rest of the world. Now, I might, with the 12's help, be able to hook up this way. That's not clear. I'm not going to rush and be in as much of a hurry to get up there. I think that's the big goal for me. So I will spend this, which puts 30 bucks in here. I lay a flat track going in, and now I will spend on 2 things: the rabbit to increase Istanbul, and the snow to get me the mine. I have to choose which one gets more. I have a share of the snow, so I will pay 10 bucks to the rabbit and 20 bucks to the snow. $10 to the rabbit. Well, that didn't work right. And 20 to the snow. And that gets me both of these. So that's 20, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 off a 2 train. That's pretty good. It's clearly not going to have money to build another train. So 45 and 45. You get 50 in here. And this, it's all these different... and then 25, 35, 45. All these different little companies are what eat up my my cash drawer, which is okay. later in the game it ended up really kind of eating things badly. Okay, so we can find the 6. All right, the 6 is running up here. It's only got a deuce. Ideally, I would be able to hook this. I don't think that's what I desire. Let's see how much money I'm going to have. So, I want to try to slip in up on the 1. So we will take a sharp track, which is sharp on both sides. No difference there. Now, I don't know if I want to pay to go in here. Saving money may be more important right now. In fact, I'm pretty sure it is. I will pay for the snow, $10 to get me access up here. And now I run for 20, 40, 50, 60, 70, which is 35 and 35. Give me some cash. 35, 45, 50. That gets me another train. Sorry. Got an extra chip there. Okay, so I could buy another 2 train with the cash I have on hand. However, if I do that, I'm not going to have the money to blast. I can blast, but I'm not going to have the money to get into here. It'll use my full $80. I'll have an empty treasury, and I won't have the money to run this. So I'm going to sit as I am. I'm making money in with everyone else. That's just one of the things. Running out of money sucks. You don't want to do it. 7 is blocked off completely. All I have is a 2 train. I run for 6. Which will give me 30 and 30. I don't have enough money to buy anything new, so I'm pretty much done. I would like to have another train, because running 2 2s, I'd make some good money. But maybe I want to wait until I get the 3 anyway, so we don't know. There's no 8, so we jump to the 9. And we find them. They're working with the 6. Yeah, right. Nothing I can do with the 9. I pay 10 for the Rabba, which gets me 30, and 30 is 60. Nothing too exciting is happening here. I got enough money for another train, but I don't have anything I can do with it. I'll just keep waiting. Now I could buy the train and sell it to this KOV next turn, but the KOV is going to have enough money too, so we'll just hold off. That puts me on the 10, because down here, playing with the deuce. The 10 and the deuce are actually kind of close, but there's nothing I can really do with them. So what does the 10 want to do? I'm running a single 2 train. I think what I want to do is pay the sick $10. I don't have any of this to curve in the cheap way. I have $30 to spend. I don't have either of the 2 companies. So $30 is going to get me the Rabba and the Snow combination. I'm going to give, for 2 reasons, ease, because I can make the change in my hand, but also keeping these kind of balanced, because I don't have either one of them, the 20 over to the Rabba. So here, it's 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. And the 10 makes 40 and 40. I'll find the company again. $75, $115. In my hand. That puts me to the 11. The Gaisev. Again, working with the 3, nothing I can do. But I can pay the Rabba $10. Now this would have been, if I wanted to be really careful with the 10, I might have looked who's going to pay Rabba, who's going to pay Snow. Yeah, there's probably more Rabbas out there, but whatever. So the 11 paid the Rabba 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. 35 and 35. I have $110. That's $10 short from buying a 3 train. Next turn, if I bought the 2 train at 80, I could run, make a little bit more money, but I'm so close to the 3, I'm going to hold off. That means MagV or MagVag or MavBag or whatever is going to make money next round. And it makes bigger money than the other companies do, but it makes it in little bursts. That gets me to the 12 then, which is over here. 12 is running a deuce here. Definitely want to blast through there. I can't hook this up, but I have room to run a 2 train here and a 2 train here, conceivably. Okay, I'll play that there. That puts $20 out of the bank into the Seek. I go here. I can pay the Rabba and the Snow, and it's worth it. There's $30. I'm more interested in the Snow, so I'll put the 20 there and the 10 there, and it keeps them balanced. And I again make 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Just 45, 45. Not enough money, barely, for that 2 train. Not seeing as many 2 trains coming up this time. The last time I played, a lot of players were picking up those 2 trains on this phase. And people bought the LD Stegs because they thought it was going to produce a lot of money. Now it's going to produce 80, and it's going to make some ground, probably better than most companies. Looks like they've got more than anyone else. So it's a good buy still. But last time it was a really good buy. The reason why I can't buy as many trains is the companies aren't cooperating. The miners aren't cooperating with each other. So we go to the last one, the 13. Which is up here. Has a pile of money. That's way down here. I can play the blast money. I'm working with the 1. That doesn't look like there's going to be any synergy there. You know, I think it's worth saving saving that token for someplace maybe like this that I may need it. And I'll curve up through Zagreb. There's an argument to be made for going this way, but I need to get myself another city. I'm not making much money. And I pay the Rabba $10. and run for 20, 40, 60, which is going to be a good old 30 and 30. Okay. No train. Well, so again, I have the money for a train. And if I run another train, if I run a 2 train, it's 40, and 40 is 80 instead of 60. It's a little bit more money, but I think I'd rather hold off because paying the RABA helps me get ahead. So I'll hold off, and who knows, maybe I buy a 3 train instead. All right, now we go to the corporations. I forgot to mention, you check to make sure none of them are sold out. They go up if they are, but this early in the game, that's not going to happen. Nobody owns a presidency. Somebody owns a presidency. The Snow presidency has been sold. Now, I'm leaving the corporations up here because there's not a lot that you're doing with them. You're not manipulating them. You're not really looking that much at them. So the SIC just pays out because nobody holds it, and it pays out 80, which is 2 spaces, making some good cash, and 8 a share. Nobody else has one. No presidency for the LD SEG or whatever. That also has 80. So it'll go up at 8 a share. And we'll do this. I'll come back for the Snow, when it runs, because there's a decision there. I lied. And went a little further, or came back early. So the RABA ran for 70, same price increase, but only paying out 7 a share instead. Wow, now I forgot why I came back. Yeah, so the prices that these things make, I actually find more interesting. It doesn't necessarily tell you what's going on, but knowing what companies are using in terms of the cars especially is really kind of valuable to understand as to what the value is for them. So the fact that the RABA made 70 and this only made 10, that actually is a value that carries over and has meaning in terms of your investment choices and whatnot, which is what I mainly use this kind of track for is, oh, how much did you make? If you don't have that kind of track and you're not keeping track of it on paper, which I kind of discourage, because if you can keep track of stuff on paper, if there is any hidden trackable information, then it might as well be known information. This game doesn't have any such thing. So I wouldn't mind people tracking stuff on paper. But yeah, it can be useful to know, hey, how many things are you actually hitting? How many companies are using the doinkers for the GNC, which definitely starts out slower but becomes more valuable as the game goes on. How many people are using the RABA and the SNW, which actually might decrease in value as people get centralized and sucked in to Budapest. He has the presidency of the Snow, and enough money, I could buy a token. That's the only thing you can do with that money, but I have other choices as well. So with that presidency, I'm looking at the 2 and the 6. Would I want... Oh, why is the 6 screwing the 2? No, they're different. I see this too. Yeah. The presidency of the snow is looking at the 9 and the 6. I look at that and I think, maybe I want to do something with this. So I've got two options. I could pay out, and I could pay out $60 and get two space bonuses off of it. And that would be great. Another option I could use, but why that's not that impressive is I have my two shares frozen in the president's certificate. I'm not going to be able to sell them, so I'm not going to be able to turn this into cash for investing in more interesting things. Now, the mining companies tend to get hit a fair amount, at least in the games that in the last game that I played, because this became very, very important. The 5 continued to hit this, so they continued to generate money all along, which is why I didn't feel any real reservations to grabbing that presidency. But other people might well dump it for purposes of being able to get stocks that'll generate short-term capital a little better. Once you're invested in a presidency, you probably want to hold it, so you can't let anybody else increase over it. You can't ever sell it because then you'll lose it. all that kind of consideration comes in mind, and you have 2 shares that are just frozen unless you have someone to sell it to. Given all of that, there is one place that is of interest that I could put this right now while I control it. I could spend $40 to drop it here. And doing that won't help my run because it's not the same city. But eventually, those ooh-oohs, they turn into this. That doesn't help me. But eventually they turn into that. And it would block access to whatever I have and whatnot. On the other hand, I have $74, which is enough money. I mean, I've got the RABA I could sell too, but it's enough money to buy a share already, which is something to keep in mind. If I needed more money, I would want to pay out more. But I don't think I really need money. One thing with this game, your own cash doesn't really, you have no way of putting your cash into a company, right? Some partial caps are probably the best way of getting cash into your company. But in most XXs, there's at least some way that you can, through bankruptcy, forced train purchase or whatever, there's some way to get your money into a company. There's nothing here. There's no mechanisms that allow you to do that. And with with full cap, the amount of money you put in to start a new corporation can include padding to make that corporation a feeder for another company at this stage in the game. That's not available. The only thing that I have is if one company buys a train, another one can buy it off of it, and then I get something off that. I'm kind of torn on this, but who knows, I might not have this. And in order to not have to defend it, I'm going to spend $40, and I've got 10 in my hand, just pretend that. And I'm going to put this here. And that makes it attractive. People might want to link to it once it's green. Of course, that makes this not attractive, but it's not particularly attractive to anybody anyway. That extra $10, I'm going to pay out and leave $10 in there, and that'll make me not lose stock value. But no reason to spend 20, and everybody gets $1 per share for this. And this is the thing; these things pay out so little in cash, but they do gain stock value. So you can make money on the margins with that, but you got to be careful with that because stock value is dependent really on the priority. This is where the priority comes in, is what do you sell? There might be a what do you buy, but you're only allowed to buy one share at a time. You can't start a corporation, all kind of stuff like that. Priority's big difference is, what am I selling? Yeah, what prices are getting dumped so that other people don't make the bonus off of whatever this pays out. And then the blue paid out $1 to no one, and the MAVAG paid out nothing to no one. And that puts us back up to the stock round. Priority's sitting over here. I will not muse too much here. I'll only come back if there's anything too exciting. Vaguely exciting is happening. He sold us sick because it's not going to make a lot of money, and that gave him a lot more cash buying those cheap MAGAVs or MAVAGs or whatever. And we're seeing the groupthink coming into play. This guy didn't sell anything. He thinks the SESCAV is still pretty good. Most of the holdings seem pretty decent right now. The question though is, what do you want to buy with it? And then the other question, this guy has enough money to do it. Do you want to hold multiple MAVAGs? Is it worth buying the presidency, because we know that there's a 3 or 2 coming out next round? And the exciting thing, he bought the presidency of the MAVAG, but then we saw him buying the LD Stag directorship. And again, these are kind of weird directorships to pick up as early ones, because they are spotty, right? They go through deserts and washing back and forth, and you may not want them early. But then what we saw was even worse, perhaps. He went up to a 3rd share of this. What I'm seeing is the likelihood of a long period of 3 trains coming out. Maybe I'm wrong. But remember, nothing rusts, and it's kind of hard to jump right to the 4s. Although, you know, again, it's only $200. It could happen. And yeah, so we've got a number of people who are buying presidencies, and all of these did not go. Now somebody, I don't remember who, might have been him, had enough money to buy a share of the GNC, which is guaranteed to like not lose money. It would make me $1 a share or whatever it makes. Probably more than that, but it seemed more valuable to buy into this and say screw it. Priority ended up here, which means, well, nobody else has 2 shares of that, so he's not going to dump that. But this guy can protect himself if he doesn't want to own the MAVAG, if it looks like it's not going to make money after this operating round. We go down to the operating round, we go there, and I'm going to send this sucker up, whatever that means.